Okay, I'm going to go over a technique on the hi-hat that's used for funk music or groove music. It's like a rock beat, but you're going to be using 16th notes on the hi-hat. So I don't know if everybody knows what 16th notes is, but if you're a beginner drummer, first thing you learn is stuff on the snare drum. You learn your basic rudiments. So I can kind of briefly go over what your basic rudiments are. There's the quarter, well, there's whole notes, which are, everything's based around 4, and when you're playing a funk beat, so there'd be 4 beats within a measure. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. You can break it down to whole notes, which would be 1 note within the measure. Half notes would be 1, 2, 3, 4, so 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Quarter notes are all 4 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if you double the quarter notes, you're going to get 8th notes, which are double quarter notes. So a quarter note is 1, 2, 3, 4. 8th notes are going to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 16th notes are double the 8th note. So if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So 16th notes. In other words, 16 notes in the measure. 8th notes is 8 notes in the measure. Quarter notes are 4 notes in the measure. Half notes are 2 notes in the measure. The whole notes are 1 note in the measure. And then in between, there's variations between that, like dotted 8th notes, and that's something more advanced. That's giving you kind of a pause. It's like when we're doing the swing beat. But just for a basic funk beat, I usually do, and not always, but I like to use 16th notes on the hi-hat. So, if your basic rock beat, you're going... Those are 8th notes on the hi-hat. Well, to get more of a funk groove, I usually do 16th notes. I go... So that's 16 notes within the bar. I mean, it's not easy. It takes time to build up to that, those techniques and those rudiments. So you'll have to build up to, starting out with just quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, left, right, left, 8th notes, 1 and 2 and 4 and 16th notes is, and what I'll do is the quarter notes on the bass drum, just so you see what I'm talking about. I'll start with 8s and then go into 16 notes. So quarter notes on the bass are 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's 8th notes on the hi-hat. 16th notes. Notice how the 8th notes don't change on the right hand. It's just the same thing. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. All you do is adding the left hand. That's all. I mean, it's a little bit tricky at first, but once you practice it, you can probably find that in a book called The Funky Primer. I'm not sure the author's name, but it's a great book. It's a book that I learned all the funk beats on. I mean, it goes through all kinds of funk beats, and it's called The Funky Primer. It was probably written back in the 1970s, or maybe even in the 60s. It's one of the go-to books for funk music, or funk type of stuff. They do like paradiddle funk, like that kind of stuff. I'm just showing you a basic, because there is a lot of Funky Primer has a 16th note. You could alternate the 16th on the snare and the hi-hat, but just to show you your basic 16th notes with the quarter notes on the bass and 2 and 4 on the snare. Almost sounds like a U2 beat. What's that U2 song? Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong song, but maybe something like that. Anyway, it's a basic pop. A lot of new wave bands use that in the 80s. It's just another technique, and you can also use the open hi-hat when you're using the 16th notes. What I love about the 16th notes on the hi-hat is you can use open-handed off beats on the hi-hat, and it comes more natural. So if I'm doing a There's all kinds of things you can do. Rolls. That's double stroke rolls. That's something that's more advanced, and I'll show that to you later, or you can look it up. But it's just a great, easy groove to get into, and you can even use it for disco. Or whatever. And you can even you can do the 16th notes on here and alternate on the ride. All kinds of things you can do with the 16th note on the hi-hat. It's just something simple. You don't even have to do all quarter notes on the bass drum. You could do just your half notes, that kind of thing. Or you could do eighth notes on the bass drum. Or even a mixture of 16th notes. That all comes in the Funky Primer. I'm just showing you basics. I'll just give you a little example and kind of groove off of that. But it's, you know, it's just a basic groove funk beat. That's something you can play around with and tool around with. If you have any questions, leave comments down on my YouTube, whatever, wherever the questions are, or comments, or, you know, if you like it or not, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. I just like showing these different beats because I've been doing them for years, and they're very useful, and there's so many variations. So have fun with that, and on to the next. I'll show you next time, maybe a little more complicated. What I want to do is get the Funky Primer behind video and show you a little bit, and kind of give you examples of that. That's my favorite book. So anyway, sounds good. Thanks for watching.